Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and today we will be talking about the Uranus retrograde, which is actually starting on the 19th of August, and it's going to be going on retrograde at 14 degrees of Taurus. Usually Uranus is retrograde for 155 days, and it tends to go back approximately about 4 degrees. So I hope this video will help you to prepare yourself of what changes you need to make, because Uranus retrograde is typically about the need to make changes within ourselves. Uranus direct is going to be more about the changes we need in our environment or around us, something to do with in the collective, but this time around we need to make certain type of changes in our life. So if you like the video, press like, ring the notification bell, and also share your Uranian experiences with share your Uranian experiences in the comment box below. And if you would like to learn astrology, then I am going to be making a solar return webinar, which is going to be approximately about 12 hours. It's going to be in 3 parts, and I'm going to be teaching you all you should know about solar return chart, including hermetic lots, patterns in the solar return chart, the possible 19th position of the moon in each year, the modality changes of your solar return chart. So it's going to be a very exciting course. But without any further ado, let's get started on that Uranus retrograde period. So Uranus is a slow-moving planet. It has got a 7-year cycle. It spends 7 years in each sign. And whenever a slow-moving planet goes retrograde, basically it very much, the energy of that planet amplifies significantly. So kind of like, imagine Uranus being retrograde is kind of like a planet being on steroids, really. And, you know, plenty of you might be asking the question, what shall I expect with Uranus retrograde? Well, expect the unexpected. So Uranus is a planet which can't be really foretold. It is always bringing some element of a shock into our life. But the higher manifestation of Uranian transits is always something to do for the greater good. Remember that Uranus is something to do with downloading divine power from the sky. It's not coming from other people. Don't expect the changes from your friends, from your family. Actually, just it's a divine idea which is kind of handed over to you on a silver plate. And whether you are taking it or not, it's absolutely up to you. Of course, Uranus is being the higher octave of Mercury, so sometimes it's very scary, because where did that come from? What's the intention of the universe? And we're going to be asking all those type of questions. And the secret to understand Uranus is that you don't need to be looking at facts and data. It's more about just going with the flow type of energy. So the #1 keyword for Uranus is all about change. And do not try to prepare for those changes, because it's a little bit tricky with that. Now, the reason why I chose that background picture is because actually it beautifully symbolizes what Uranus does. It's like a lightning really, which is actually striking suddenly. You don't expect that. And then it kind of destroys. And then in a sense, you have to build things up again. Now, Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and the traditional ruler is Saturn. So there is plenty of difference between those two planets. Of course, Saturn is more about the rules, and Uranus is more about the freedom. So kind of like they are opposites. Saturn is more about the past, Uranus is more about the future. So kind of like when you have got a Saturn transit, you can prepare for that, because you know that somehow the past is going to be haunting, or you know that there's going to be some type of restrictions, or you have to take something seriously. But with Uranus, you don't know, because it's kind of like just showing you a path of what might be coming up in the future. So Uranus is a very tricky planet. Typically, Uranus is making all those changes, whether you like it or not. So the keywords to Uranus is freedom, innovation, sudden changes in your life, breakups, breakthroughs, breakdowns as well. But also that's a very creative element as well, your authentic self in a way, your true desire. So, and as I mentioned, Uranus is something which is actually requiring you to make certain element of changes. Now, by the way, when it comes to Greenwich time, which is the collective time for us in this earth, is on the 20th of August at 2:40 a.m. So I was looking at that chart more than breaking it down to different countries. So in this video, I want to be speaking about what Uranus actually indicates, what Uranus might bring for us while it's retrograde on a collective level, and what type of interactions Uranus is making in the retrograde chart. And then if we have got a little bit of the time, then I'm going to be giving you clues of what you should be expecting personally according to your rising sign as well. So yeah, so Uranus is currently located in the sign of Taurus. And actually, according to modern astrology, it's the fall position for Uranus. So Uranus has got a exalted position in the sign of Scorpio. It's fall in Taurus, then it's meant to be ruling Aquarius, and then it's in detriment in Leo. Now you can see that how much Uranus is actually connected to all the fixed signs, which is very much about stability, foundation. And this time around, it is still in the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign, an earth fixed sign. And typically it talks about continuity. So Uranus is the kind of like the planet which is about the higher truth. So in the sign of Taurus, it could really talk about the higher truth when it comes to self-worth. What is blocking me? What's actually good about myself? What is happening in the world, which is very much about my, which is correlating with my personal taste, but also what is happening in the financial world as well. So Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. So it does talk about information, but as I mentioned, it's more about the information we can actually download from up above. Uranus is the planet of innovation. It has got the desire to have freedom. It is very rebellious. It also represents kind of like political protest as well. Now, Taurus is meant to be kind of the sign which is ruling over the earth. So Uranus retrograde on a collective level could be talking about revisiting how we treat the earth. So anything to do with the pollution of the earth, or anything to do with the environment, how we treat that. So there might be some new innovative techniques or advancements coming up, which is actually going to allow us to maintain the earth in a better way. Uranus rules anything around modernity, so modern technology, and for instance, how it affects the world. So, all this 5G, mobile network, it might be popping up again, and then we might be reading all this type of news that it's healthy, it's not healthy, and so forth. That these type of things are very possible while Uranus is actually retrograde. Now, Uranus actually has got an 84-year cycle, so it takes him approximately 84 years to get around the zodiacal signs. So if we are lucky, we all experience a Uranus return. If we are not so lucky, then we won't, right? So therefore, Uranus is one of those collective planets which is affecting the society a lot more than on an individual level. Now, Uranus is very much about the external changes in our lives, what has happened to us in the last couple of years, When it goes retrograde, it is a time when we should be reflecting of how we have changed and what other changes we have to make if we want to be, moving forward with our life. Uranus is very unconventional. It rules it breaks the rules. It always has got fresh ideas, innovative ideas. It's very curious. It's very insightful. It has got different perspectives on things. Usually it does things in an unusual way, and it wants to be unique. It wants to have a unique self-expression, and it wants to follow a unique path as well. Typically, a strong Uranus in the chart can indicate that someone has got affinity towards technology, or actually those people might be wanting to maintain their independency as much as they can. Uranus tends to be challenging our status quo as well. First, it always brings a little bit of a chaos, which we kind of need to get out of. But once we have and we utilize our higher power, then actually it also brings you some great presents as well. Uranus also likes electrifying things. So it's kind of like giving you an element of a buzz and excitement to do something. Sometimes it actually gives a blast as well. A situation can be just unfolding very quickly, or you can have those flashes of brilliant ideas. With Uranus, we need to forget about the traditions. It's all about exploring the best path forward for yourself, as well as experiencing new methods. Now, Uranus in the sign of Taurus is shaking up the routines. So it wants you to kind of be a little bit more open-minded, be a lot more curious, and it kind of tells you to surprise yourself as well, or surprise people around you. So there is this song, for instance, which always comes to my mind when I speak about Uranus, and that's kind of like the Free Your Mind, if you remember that song. And how it goes is that free your mind. I wear tight clothing, high-heeled shoes, but it doesn't mean that I'm a prostitute. No, no. I like rap music, wear hip-hop clothes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm selling dope. So, so Uranus retrograde can actually talk about whether you can embrace your uniqueness, your authentic self to others. But, and sometimes with Uranus, we make unusual choices as well, but it is the right course of action for you. And Uranus is sometimes, or most of the cases, it's afraid of rejection because I can't fit in anywhere. And then people are going to be looking at me like I'm a weirdo. And there is that social obligation which I have to attend, but I don't want to. And then in the end, it leads to nervous breakdowns and frustration and all those type of things. So if you've got a prominent Uranus in your chart, you might feel that all the social responsibilities, which is actually acts like a burden for yourself, and how you can liberate yourself from those and finding an alternative route. So that's the Uranian keywords here. Once you kind of break away from those conventional paths, and you dare to go on your own way, most probably Uranus starts feeling a lot happier. By the way, Uranus is actually the god of sky. So there is a little bit of an every creation story behind it. What happened is that he's the father of Saturn, and whenever he felt like having a lover, then he left, and whenever he felt like to come back, then he came back. And then eventually the wife and Saturn got tired of that, and then Saturn went to try to kill him. So Uranus is the planet of in a sense, it does talk about the father-son type of relationships as well. the abandonment, that the sun gets abandoned and then the sun wants to kind of take revenge. But Saturn kind of has to become serious and then understand the two sides of the coin as well. Saturn represents modern organizations, kind of like the aha experience. And as I mentioned, it gives an electric shock in the consciousness. I tend to be calling Uranus as the planet of intuition, magic, and alchemy as well. And also it talks about that togetherness and separation as well at the same time, because Uranus never could leave his wife behind, Gaia. He always found his way back. He just needed to go and then kind of lift his spirit up whenever he felt restricted. So therefore, Uranus always wants to belong to a group of people, but at the same time, it wants to maintain its unique energy as well. So it rules over groups, the social consciousness, kind of like your networking, but how can I maintain my role in that networking by not breaking my own rules as well? So therefore, you might want to understand that Uranus does not necessarily want to belong to any of the groups. It has got the ability to tell them what to do or how to solve a problem. And then once it has done it, it kind of moves forward. So it's kind of like just giving an awakening. It revolutionizes things. It shakes things up, but it does it in an unorthodox way. So, you might feel that you are not able to fit in any type of group. And usually, it's never going to happen till you don't accept the fact that you are different. So Uranus kind of rules over LGBTQ type of groups. So something to do with the minority, not necessarily the minority, it's not really true, but those people who are living their life in a different way. Now, also there is a little bit of a story behind Uranus because, and that's that history is related to Prometheus. He who have foresight, and an eagle actually ate his liver, but at night the liver always grew back. So Uranus can actually indicate liver problems as well in the chart. And the story is that he got punished because he gave fire to the humankind because he felt sorry for them. So this is one of the reasons why Uranus, wants to kind of run away from things, because it knows that it's going to get punished for certain choices, what he makes in his life. And the biggest lesson for Uranus is to kind of find that middle golden road and somehow temper the extreme energies, what it has. It cannot always run away. Sometimes it has to stay and then live up to his mistakes as well. So Uranus rules any type of fields which is dealing with humanitarian energies, science or art, human relations, counseling, electronics, high-tech fields. It kind of shows a unique talent in your chart that you can do something in an original way. But also it would talk about unexpected losses and gains as well. So for instance, Uranus in the second house, my experience is that the money comes in big chunks and then nothing for a few months. But it could also indicate an overnight success as well. So typically, Uranus gives us a very unusual experience as well when it comes to our parents. It is very rebellious against bosses. It tends to be having shocking career changes, sometimes outrageous behavior as well. So Uranus rules over criminality as well, but not the shop lifters and stuff like that, but the actual people who are committing a proper crime. But the very highest manifestation of Uranus is a unique contribution to the society. So this is the meaning of Uranus overall. So Uranus will be going retrograde, as I said, on 14th degree of Taurus. So let's just have a look at what it means for us. So just very briefly, Taurus is about pleasure. It's solid, it's stable, it talks about security. So with Uranus retrograde, we might need to be checking our security system, or what is our relationship with our possessions, money, what's my relationship in regards to beauty, how loyal can I be, how stubborn I can be, or am I practical, am I not so practical, do I need to practice some patience or not? Can I become very indulgent, or do I become a holder in a sense, and then my storage is full of things, and then maybe I have to decide that now I'm just going to be decluttering the whole storage area. So those are kind of like the keywords for Taurus. Now, two very good aspects we have between Uranus, and that's between Mercury and Mars. So the conjunction happened on the 18th of August, so just the day before. I made a video about Mercury and Mars conjunction, so I don't necessarily want to talk about that too long. But when it comes to Mercury and Uranus trine, it kind of like our mind is open to new possibilities. So we become a lot more curious. Our mind is racing. It's very flexible. It might just decide, yeah, I want a new job, no problem. I'm handing in my resignation and I'm starting somewhere else tomorrow. But it can make you very intuitive as well. You can kind of like having those psychic type of downloads in a sense. And Mars gives you that energy level and confidence to kind of start something. It's like the urge to experience new things. So it's pushing you forward. And this is a very hot combination altogether. So it's actually brilliant to start something new. It might be just coming like a lightning rod, really. Now, one more thing which I wanted to mention is that Uranus is actually sitting on a fixed star when it turns retrograde, and its name is Menkar. Now, Menkar is associated with diseases on one hand. It talks about disgraceful actions and injuries and kind of like loss of fortune and sickness. So this Uranus retrograde actually can affect the stock market quite a lot when it comes to the fortune type of element. And of course, when we talk about disease, I don't want to go into that so much in depth, but altogether, these two can also bring an element of worrying about the future as well. And our life can get tested again. So Uranus and Menkar together actually could bring some scientific breakthroughs as well. We can become a lot more interested in the mystical fields. But we can also have some trouble with the opposite sex as well. I think this could be bringing additional fire as well, some type of natural disasters altogether. And it could really relate to some type of injuries of animals as well, just because this is happening in a constellation of something called the sea monster. So it might be related to the sea animals the most. Okay, so this is my interpretation on Uranus going retrograde. Maybe we can look at very shortly about what Uranus in each houses might represent for you. Now, it's just going to be a brief one because we can be talking about this for a very long time. But what you want to do is, firstly, you want to be having a look at your chart. Do you have any planets, especially in the fixed signs, meaning that Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, between 10 to 14 degrees? Then you will be affected the most, okay? Now, if you have got a Taurus rising sign, it means that Uranus is actually transiting your first house. So especially if you've got the rising sign between 10 to 14 degrees, you're going to feel it the most. It could talk about that it's time to look at your style, maybe trying a new look out or refreshing a little bit your appearance. Maybe actually it could talk about that you're going to be suddenly changing your environment. So it could talk about relocation, but it could also talk about the need to kind of adapt to a shocking situation in your life, and whether you're gonna take that well or you're gonna become very rebellious and then get stuck in a mud. It could also talk about replacing some old habits with something more unique, genuine, or you might have been doing the same exercise for a very long time. So it might be something about trying out a new health regime as well. It could talk about personal growth, but more importantly, an element of a self-development. That should be your top priority. You're going to have to discover basically a new you. If you've got an Aries ascendant, that means that Uranus is transiting your second house. And you might need to be looking at, for instance, how technology can be boosting your income. Do I need to invest into something which is more advanced, but then actually it can attract more clients? And maybe it does faster transactions. So maybe I just need to be changing the terminal because it gives me a faster payment, and then customers are not going to get agitated that they have to be waiting for something. So your cash flow can go to the extremes. It can experience really highs and lows, maybe a bigger chunk of money coming to you, but then all of a sudden, a few months later, you're going to have to pay out a bigger chunk of money as well. So this Uranus can be a reminder to look at your saving account as well. Maybe you are dreaming about having financial independency. How can you free up yourself from any type of financial obligations also? So you might be planning to pay your debts back, for instance. It could also talk about that you are thinking about raising your prices as well when it comes to your own business. If you have got a Pisces rising sign, it means that your Uranus is actually transiting your third house. So Uranus is going to be highlighting something to do with your communication skills and then how you express yourself. It's very much about speaking your own truth at the moment and probably sharing your ideas with communities. So it could be talking about that you have been planning to start your YouTube channel for a while, but you haven't done it yet. So it might be the idea to revisit that. You might be experiencing some type of breakthroughs on social media or anything to do with your studies, your learning experiences, or you might actually just get this idea what to write a book about. Now, if you have got siblings, then maybe your siblings are going through some very fast-paced changes, and then you're going to have to assist them in one way or another. When it comes to travels, just watch out for the travel experiences, because you might be commuting around a lot more, or you might actually go to unique, exotic places, and you might want to try some interesting, new, fun-related stuff, for instance, when you visit a new country. If you have got Aquarius ascendant, it means that Uranus is actually transiting your fourth house. So it's about your living conditions. Maybe you have got a very strong desire to move somewhere because you just need to break the ties with your family, with your parents, and then you want to be moving somewhere. Or maybe you have got this huge apartment which you want to downsize, and then you want to be in a smaller one. Or maybe you just overall, you want to be moving somewhere else. You need fresh air. And it might be something you have dreamed about for a very long time. There might be some chaotic period in your family as well, which you kind of need to tackle. So for instance, if you're going through a major renovation in your home, for instance, then expect the unexpected. Maybe more electrical appliances need to be repaired. So there is an element of a maintenance involved here as well. And also, it could just indicate that all of a sudden you need to be attending some family responsibilities as well. If you have got Capricorn rising sign, it means that Uranus is actually transiting your 5th house. Now, this is new fun. This is new romance. Maybe actually you stumble into guys and girls all the time, and then, you know, you don't even know which one to choose. It kind of indicates a playful nature, playful activities. It might be that all of a sudden you have got the idea that I want to be a professional sportsman, for instance, but it's very much about doing something which you love doing the most. It might be that all of a sudden you get pregnant or you become a father. It could talk about an unconventional relationship, so as well, and then it could talk about kind of like, what's the word in English? In my language, we call it as love children. So, which means is that the parents are not married. Usually it comes from a one-night stand, or, you know, it's just not an official marriage. And then all of a sudden they get pregnant, and then, you know, they have got a child. So that could be also a meaning of that Uranus here. I think in English it's called the rainbow child, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm sure there will be someone who is going to correct me anyway. You might be doing some unique, weird, fun activities, but it's all about finding joy and pleasure in that. If you have got Sagittarius rising sign, Uranus is actually transiting your 6th house. So maybe if you have got if you have got work or you have got your own business, it might indicate that actually your employees are going to be standing up and then leave you. So recruitment can be something to pay attention to, or it might just indicate that the work environment needs a serious shake-up. Maybe we need new computers. There needs to be innovation going on there. Everyone needs to be given a mobile phone because they have to use their own, and then it pisses them off. Right? So an element of an increase when it comes to the technological side of work. Your schedule might become very unpredictable. So you might need, you might have got an increased workload as well. And then all of a sudden, you know, you just don't know where to start, in a sense. So it requires you to have a look at your flexibility as well. Of course, 6th house is all about medical matters as well as your emotional and physical well-being. So probably Uranus might be asking you to have a look at your routines. So do I do anything to be fitter, healthier? Can you actually squeeze in a little bit of a workout from time to time? When it comes to the illness part, it could bring something odd and weird, which the doctors might not be able to detect immediately. But also, if you are experiencing some illnesses, then Uranus can talk about the fact that you should be using an alternative treatment in addition to whatever the doctors are prescribing to you. So think about, you know, any type of spiritual treatments which actually comes to your mind, or at least you feel drawn towards to. If you have got a Scorpio ascendant, then Uranus will be transiting, or is transiting, your 7th house. So it could be a very exciting roller coaster in the relationship department. It could be very authentic. Just a second. It could be very authentic, very unique. It's like two very rare individuals are meeting and then forming a love life. And maybe that Uranus is now asking you to look at the dynamics of the relationship. Does it go the way you have imagined that? Or do we need to break away some of the standards? from in this relationship. This Uranus retrograde can actually indicate a marriage or actually something around a baby as well. That's very possible. It might be that, for instance, your partner is going to be working abroad, or you are going to be working abroad, and the relationship becomes a little bit of a long distance one. And then how are we going to bring our schedules together? Also, if you have got some legal matters, Uranus can bring breakthroughs here as well. All of a sudden, it could finish. Whether it's positive or negative, you know, that's a different story. If you've got Libra rising sign, it means that Uranus is actually transiting your 8th house. So it's very much about liberating yourself from any type of financial matters which have been draining you for a very long time. So maybe you start looking at ways where you get ideas of how to make more money and then eventually get rid of that mortgage and so forth, because Uranus is definitely dreaming about financial independence here. You might decide that I'm going to be paying double back to the bank just to shorten this period of time. That's also very possible that your partner is going to be receiving a huge amount of money, and that is somehow becoming liberating in your financial department. But kind of it talks about a very quick shift with your money. Now, it could also talk about, unfortunately, sudden death in your environment. It might look like someone is going to recover and then eventually, unfortunately, not. But this is very rare. When there needs to be more alignment for that. So don't be worried about it. But definitely Uranus also wants you to liberate yourself from your deeper fears. If you have got Virgo rising sign, then Uranus is actually transiting your 9th house. And this is very much about spending more time out there in the world, and maybe you have to revisit your travel plans. Maybe you have to look at your working schedule, how I'm going to get to B from A, right? And then you might be actually experiencing some type of delays when it comes to those travel plans. Maybe actually it's all about your ambitions as well, to find meaning in your life, or what's my purpose in this incarnation? And therefore you have got a sudden realization that I want to be studying something, or you know what, I want to start teaching, or I want to publish a book, for instance. So all those type of dreams can be coming back, and maybe this Uranus retrograde is talking about having a new perspective and actually take some action. Remember, Uranus is actually trining Mars this time around. So this aspect for Virgo rising could talk about a mental breakthrough. If you have got Leo rising sign, and Uranus is actually transiting your 10th house. Now, professional matters might be changing on the horizon. There could be chaos at work, which you need to attend. It might have been going on for a while, and then no one really has taken action. So you might need to be stepping up your game a little bit, but you might be also craving for freedom, wanting to break away from this work because you don't feel emotionally connected with the activity you have been doing for a very long time. You might have got the desire of not sitting behind the desk all the time and then being on the go. So there is an element of a dream around independence at work, but you might be required to actually brush up your knowledge around technology as well. You might actually start working remotely as well. You might actually start a job which involves technology. So work opportunities is also very possible with Uranus, and you might start working with more people as well. As I mentioned, Uranus is the unique but larger organizations. So it might be that you are going to be joining a bigger company, which is going to be a little bit of a big bite for you to start with, or you might join a company to make some very radical restructuring there. Definitely some chaotic moments around work, very possible. Then if you have got Cancer rising sign, and Uranus is actually transiting your 11th house, so there is kind of like a social shakeup going on. You might be making some great alliances with others. You might be actually having new friends, or an old friend who becomes a new friend all of a sudden, but maybe they are having a different perspective on things. They might have become more like-minded, and that was the reason why you guys didn't get along in the past, but now we kind of enjoy spending time together. So it kind of like creating a stronger bond with someone, a guru, a friend, or someone who just wants to give me some advice, and then actually I adore them talking. But also it could bring an end of a relationship as well, a friendship typically. There could be unexpected surprises with your friends. So maybe an old friend is turning up out of the blue, or there might be some very serious event happening to some of your friends, and you're going to have to attend their needs a little bit more. If you feel that you've got plenty of commitments towards people, then you might feel actually that I want to be breaking away from those as well. And lastly, if you have got Uranus, if you have got a Gemini rising sign, then it means that Uranus is transiting your 12th house. Now, Uranus definitely wants to stir up some emotional stuff within yourself. So it wants you to kind of become clear about those monsters underneath your bed, right? So you might be asked to actually step back a little bit, review things, and then all of a sudden just do some revolutionizing in your subconscious, kind of like doing a spring clean, maybe writing a journal, for instance, or I'm going to try to do some type of meditations. But it could talk about, again, taking on some new spiritual activities so that I can discover who I am. Also very possible that you're going to have some type of breakthroughs in the spiritual realm, or around your mental health as well. You might have got a sudden realization, yes, that's exactly what held me back in the in the past. Also, you can feel very unsettled. You can't really put your finger on it. What is going on within me? So this retrograde is definitely telling you to step back a little bit and maybe ask a friend of yours who might have got a partial view on your life as well. You can have very weird dreams. So I recommend keeping a journal, writing them down, and trying to figure out what they mean, because with Uranus, it's a message from the divine, and they want to remind you of something. So this is my Uranus retrograde, and with a little bit of an insight of what it might bring in each houses. Of course, I really recommend listening to the Mercury and the Mars conjunction as well, because the aspect between Uranus, Mercury, and Mars are exact. So Uranus will be retrograde for 155 days. So approximately you will feel its effect probably till next May. So it's a longer transit. Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed day. See you soon, very shortly, with another video. Bye-bye.